Okay, so let's look at the warm-up first, and then we'll look at your homework. So the warm-up, I'm trying to do at least one each day of the compound, interest, growth, or decay, so that make sure that we are hitting that along and along while we're also trying to review other things. And I just had my copy. There it is. Page 12, number 2. And so the big thing I want you to get out of us doing this each day is memorizing those formulas. So remember, the growth formula is A times 1 plus R all to the T power. Decay is the exact same thing with a subtraction sign. But it's the compound interest one that is the most complicated. It still follows the same pattern, but you have to put in 2 more things. So just to refresh your memory, you could put A for the compound interest, or you could put P for principal. It doesn't matter as long as you know what's in front is the initial value. So I will put P for principal since that's what's normally in there. And then it's 1 plus R over N times N to the T power. That's the formula. The Fresh and Green Company has a savings plan for its employees. If an employee makes an initial contribution of $1,000, the company pays 8% interest compounded quarterly. This is the word right here that shows you we need this formula as opposed to the regular growth formula. What? You've been absent and you missed when I taught this yesterday, so you need to be paying attention to this and do that later. So turn to this page in your packet. Bless you. So P stands for principal, which is the original value. So how much did this person put in? $1,000. Bless you. And then the rate as a decimal. What is 8% as a decimal? 0.08 or 0.08 divided by the number of times it is compounded a year. How many times is this compounded a year? 4, because it said quarterly. All to the 4 times, and this is where we got to figure out how many years? 5. What is the only thing that's going to change in part B? The number of years. So the 5 will change to what on part B? 35. So everything will be the same on part B. It just changes from 5 years to 35 years. And then how do we get our answer? We put it into Desmos. So it's 1,000 times 1 plus, it's not even typing in, 1,000 times 1 plus 0.08 divided by 4, all to the 20th power. Could I also put 4 times 5 there? Yes, so it doesn't matter if you put 20th or if you put 4 times 5, you should get this answer. And so when we write our answer in money, how many decimal places is that? 2. So $1,485.95. So that's part A. So in 5 years, they've earned $485.95. 1,400? Yes. What do I change for part B? The 5. The exponent of the 5. So it was 4 times 5. Now it's 4 times 35. Well, I don't know 4 times 35 as easily, so I'm actually going to type in 4 times 35 in the exponent. But see how it takes out of the exponent? So I need to make sure it stays up there in the exponent. Actually, I'm just going to come down here and do 4 times 35. 140. 4 times 35 is 140. So now it is up to $15,996.47. And I will show you what I wrote down just in case you can't see it from the calculator there. So after 35 years, their $1,000 turned into almost $16,000. Now, that's not a whole lot for 35 years, but think about what if they had put in more than $1,000 to begin with? What if they had put in like $10,000? Or if over time they kept adding to it and it kept getting bigger and bigger. So when you get ready to start a job, again, this is another life lesson. Somebody at the beginning of your career is probably going to want to meet with you about some type of retirement package. And you're going to feel like that is so far away, you don't want to deal with that right now. Or you might not want to lose any of your paycheck right now to put in retirement because you need that money right then. But this goes to show over 5 years, this person gained $485, but over 35, they gained for almost $15,000 from where they were to begin with. So if you start putting into that retirement fund when you first start working, it is going to grow exponentially, which means it's going to get a lot faster and higher if you start from the very beginning of your job than if you wait till you're 20 years in. Because a lot of people don't start worrying about retirement until they're 20 years in and they're getting ready to retire in 10 years or something, and they don't have as much to live off of after that. Because money just doesn't keep coming in once you retire. You have to have put it aside. Okay? All right. So, any questions about this formula or anything with it before I move on to last night's homework? All right, we are going to come back a little bit to this, hopefully before the end of class. If not, definitely tomorrow. But let's look at our answers on your homework. Number 9 was B as in boy. Again, these answer choices are too obvious. Know that they will be a little less obvious on the EFC and on the common assessment. So number 9 is B as in boy, and number 10 is C as in cat. Anybody have a question about either one of those before we turn the page? Also, what operation or polynomial is not closed under? Division. What that means is if you divide a polynomial by a polynomial, the answer will probably not be a polynomial, which is why I do not teach you how to divide polynomials. I only teach you how to add, subtract, and multiply them. You'll learn how to divide them when you get to algebra 2. All right, number 12. The answer is 6x squared plus 11x minus 35. Does anybody need me to go over that one? Yes. So I start by distributing the 3x. 3x times 2x is where the 6x squared came from. And then 3x times 7 is plus 21x. Negative 5 times 2x is negative 10x. And negative 5 times 7 is negative 35. Then I add these two together because they're like terms. So 21 minus 10 is 11. The other two stay because they're not like terms. It does. Number 13, I want to remind you we did this one yesterday. But remember it said that the length was the width doubled or twice it, and we just multiplied by 2. If it said tripled, we would have multiplied it by 3 and so forth. Make sure you multiply it before you start trying to find the area. Okay? 14. The answer is x squared minus 20x minus 30. X squared minus 20x minus 30.
How? Like, how?
So I did x plus 10 times x minus 30. Then I distribute x. Ashley, before you erase your work, we might need to find your mistake. Once it's erased, I can't help you figure out what you did wrong. X times x is x squared. And x times negative 30 is negative 30x. Then I distribute the 10. 10 times x is 10x. And 10 times negative 30 is negative 300. Yes. You are correct, which means I have gotten this wrong. Let's erase that and fix it. Thank you, Blaze. That's why I told you to stop erasing, Ashley, so we could figure it out here. Let's read the problem again, because apparently as Ms. Dix was doing this in the hallway as you were coming in, she did not read. If the length and width of the soccer field below is doubled, if the length and width is doubled, what does that mean? times them both by 2. So if I multiply this times 2, 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 10 is 20. Is everybody okay with me doubling that first one? And if I double the second one, that gives me 2x minus 60, because I had to multiply them both by 2. Once I have multiplied them both by 2, now I do what I was doing before, and I distribute. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times negative 60 is negative 120x. 20 times 2x is 40x. And 20 times negative 60 is negative 1200. Now I've got to add those two together. So that's 4x squared. Negative 120 and positive 40 makes negative 80x minus 1200. If they ask us for units behind that, we would say square yards, because area is always in square units. Any questions? Please make sure you do not do what I did, that you read the whole problem, because I just saw find the area and just started. But we have got to read where it says both sides are double. Hint, hint. It's going to say that on the common assessment. I can't give you that hint for the EOC because they don't let me see it, but I have seen the common assessment. Okay. Also, you need to pay attention. In this case, it says both sides were doubled. On number 13, it just says one side was doubled. So make sure you read it carefully. And then number 15 is B as in boy. B as in boy. Yes. Yes. So first we're going to look at the number part, the 5. So when I look at the answer choices, I got 15 and 25, and then 1 and 5. 1 and 5 is definitely not it. That's why I marked both of those out, because the GCF between 1 and 5 is not 5. The GCF between 1 and 5 is 1. So I know it's got to be A or B, and the GCF between 15 and 25 is 5, so that part works. So now I've just got to look at the letters. Remember, to be a GCF with letters, 2 things are required. The first one, they both have to have that letter, and you take the lowest power that one of them has. So when I look in A, they both have a y squared. And technically, this problem is wrong. It should have said, Sarah says the GCF is 5x y squared z. They left out the x there. Please, above that, write in the x. If you were confused by that, the problem was put wrong there. It should be 5x because they both have an x. For the y squared part, and then z to the third and z to the third. If it had been A, the GCF would have been z to the third there. B has z to the third and just z, and you have to take the one with the lower power, because remember, it means what they have in common. And if both of them have a z to the third, they have more than just a z in common. Please make sure you add in an x into the original problem so you are not confused if you happen to study before the common assessment. Questions there? All right, so I got out a calendar during planning to kind of see where we're going, and I want to share it with you before we go on to some math problems today. So, I don't know how well this will zoom out for me, but this is where we are, May 6th. We're going to review today and tomorrow. Monday and Tuesday, we're taking the common assessment. We're going to work on comparing functions, which is the next packet, and probably have a test. Go over dimensional analysis, which is something I skipped at the beginning of the year because it's something students always forget, and I want to make sure we do it close to SC Ready and EOC that you don't forget. Then start reviewing linear and then systems, and then I'll review in those 3 days whatever I can fit in before your test. But the reason I'm definitely focusing on linear and systems is because that's on both SC Ready and the EOC. But the following week, we have Memorial Day, off that Monday, a regular school day, SC writing, SC reading, and then the dance, which means I will see you guys on the day of the dance, but if you leave early, I will not see my afternoon class. The following week, we have a regular day on the 7th, SC ready on that Tuesday, a regular day on the 9th, and then the EOC. So we are at crunch time. We have about a month left, but a few of those days are going to be testing, a holiday, and a dance. So I really got about 2.5 weeks to get us ready for the SC Ready test and the EOC. So on these days that I'm assigning you homework and asking you to do those things, or if I give you a Math Nation assignment, it is crucial, if you want to do well on this EOC, that you do it. And remember, the EOC is 10% of your final grade. Okay? All right. Now that we looked at number 15, I want you to try number 16 on your own to see if you can come up with the GCF when there's not multiple choice. So take a moment and try number 16 on your own to see if you can come up with a GCF when it's not multiple choice. Yes.
Let's say we have a 100 as a greater than that. If we were to make, let's say, a 50 on the ESC, what would that be?
Well, if you had a 100 for the year and you made a 0, it bring you down to a 90. So if you made a 50, I would think it bring you down to a 95. Because that would be half of 10%. All right, so what is the GCF between just 12 and 8? 4. Does everybody know how we got 4 between 12 and 8? Okay, because it's the largest number that divides into both of them evenly. Now let's go through each letter. D and D. Do they both have a D? And what's the lowest exponent on that? 1. So D to the first power, or just plain D, is part of our GCF. Do they both have an E? And what's the lowest exponent? 1. So you're just going to put a plain E. Do they both have an F? Yes. And what's the lowest exponent? F squared. And do they both have a G? And what's the lowest exponent? 1. So your GCF is 4DEF squared G. All right, so here's what we're going to do. The next 2 problems are quadratic problems. We just finished quadratics. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to do the next 2 problems using Desmos, and then we'll take a stretch break and I'll teach a little mini lesson that we need for the problems after this. So about 2 minutes to do 17 and 18. You can use Desmos, and then we will take a stretch break.